Watch before deleted. She walked into my room like she'd always belonged there. Outside the thick reinforced window, the dying star flickered like a weak ember, sending pale orange light through the observation deck. The colony had once been bustling, but now only a few engineers, technicians, and scientists remained. Most had left for Earth, Mars, or the newer settlements. Alex had stayed behind. He liked the solitude. It let him think. It let him work. Tonight he was tired, but duty called. A minor fluctuation had appeared in the station's core energy distribution. If ignored, it could escalate into a meltdown within hours. Alex rubbed his eyes and tapped the console. "Let's see what you're hiding today," he muttered. The lights flickered as he typed and the console displayed an array of red warnings. He frowned. Great, just great. Another anomaly. His fingers moved across the keys with practiced speed, rerouting energy flows and bypassing faulty circuits. Hours passed. Sweat gathered on his forehead. The hum of the station seemed louder now, more threatening. And then she appeared. At first Alex thought he was hallucinating. He turned sharply, scanning the small room. No one had entered. No alarm sounded. Yet there she was, standing near the doorway, calm, composed, as if she had always belonged there. She was human. At least that was what Alex first thought. Her skin shimmered faintly under the light, tiny patterns like constellations traced across her arms. Her hair moved slightly, as if stirred by an invisible wind. Her eyes, they reflected the dying star outside, a pale orange glow in the dim room. Alex froze. Who are you?" His voice cracked slightly. She smiled faintly. "I'm here to help." "Help?" Alex swallowed hard. You can't just walk in here. There are security protocols." She stepped closer, her movements graceful, almost fluid. "Protocols don't matter when the station is in danger." Alex felt his heart race. His hands shook slightly as he reached for the emergency communicator. "Security," he barked, but no signal transmitted. The console's interface displayed a simple message. "No signal. See," she said softly. "Time is too short for alarms. I can fix this." Before Alex could react, she leaned over the main console. Her fingers danced across the interface with impossible speed. Energy readings stabilized. Warnings turned green. Alarms stopped. The core's temperature normalized. Alex stared, mouth open. How?" She straightened. "There are things even your AI can't manage alone. I know your station, I know its flaws, and I know how to save it." Alex shook his head. "No one knows this station like me. I've been here for years. You shouldn't exist. And yet here I am." Her smile was faint but certain. "I've been waiting for the right moment, for you." Alex's mind raced. The station's AI had no record of her. No one had reported a boarding. Security cameras showed nothing. No figure entered, no airlock opened. It was as if she had always been there or had materialized from thin air. "Look," he said slowly, trying to regain control. "I don't know who you are or what you are. But if you want to help, we do this my way. We follow procedures. She raised a hand, gently stopping him. "Procedures won't save this station. Humans do. And you, Alex, are one of the few humans left who can think like me." Alex froze at the mention of his name. How do you know my name?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she walked to the observation window and stared at the dying star. "Names are less important than choices. You can choose to fight, or you can choose to watch the station fail. I am here to make sure you fight." Alex stared at her. Part of him wanted to call the station authorities, but the other part, his rational, logical mind, knew she was right. The anomalies in the core had worsened over the past weeks. If ignored, the station could collapse entirely, taking the few remaining colonists with it. He swallowed hard. "All right, if you're going to help, we do it together, but I'm in charge of the core systems." She nodded. "Agreed. But remember this, sometimes the system alone cannot protect humanity. Sometimes it needs a human touch. Sometimes it needs creativity, something your AI cannot predict." Alex didn't know how to respond. He felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. Who was she? How did she know so much? How could a single person, if she was even human, manage systems that had baffled the best engineers for years? Over the next few hours, they worked together. Alex explained the station's current problems while she anticipated failures he hadn't even considered. She traced circuits that had been hidden for decades, repaired connections long thought impossible to reach, and rerouted energy flows with precision and speed that left Alex stunned. "Your human mind is more interesting than I expected," she said at one point. "You think like the old engineers, but you adapt faster. You are resilient." Alex laughed nervously. "Resilient? I'm just stubborn." "No," she corrected him gently. "You are human. That makes you unpredictable. That makes you brilliant." By the time the sun on the dying star began to flare briefly, signaling the end of another day, the station was stable. The anomalies were corrected, energy distribution normalized, and the colony's few inhabitants would wake to systems functioning as if nothing had ever been wrong. Alex leaned back in his chair, exhausted but also exhilarated. I don't know how to thank you," he said. "You don't need to," she replied. "This is only the beginning. They've forgotten about us, about humanity, but we never forget ourselves, and neither should you." Alex frowned. "Who are they?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked to the doorway. Alex watched as she paused, looking back at him with those glowing eyes. "Rest now," she said softly. "Tomorrow the real work begins." And then she was gone. Alex spun around, expecting to find the door empty, but the room was still. No trace of her remained, no clothing, no footprints, no signal on the security interface. She had vanished as mysteriously as she had arrived. He sank back into his chair, mind racing. Was she human, a ghost, an advanced AI? None of it made sense. And yet somehow he trusted her. Somehow he felt that humanity's future, his own, the station's, maybe even the entire colony, depended on understanding her, following her, and learning what she knew. Hours passed. Alex couldn't sleep. He stared at the observation window, watching the dying star flicker. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. "They've forgotten about us, but we never forget humanity." He didn't know who they were. He didn't know what she truly was. But one thing was clear. Something extraordinary had entered his life, and the quiet, lonely days of the station were over. He began planning. If she returned, he needed to be ready. He needed to understand her. And most importantly, he needed to remember that even when humans are alone in the cold, dark reaches of space, they have something no machine, no alien, no experiment could replicate: creativity, intuition, and the relentless spark of human resilience. And in that spark, Alex knew, lay hope. The next day the station was quiet, almost eerily so. Alex moved through the corridors, feeling the strange emptiness settle around him. The colony's few remaining inhabitants went about their routines, unaware of the events of the previous night, or perhaps pretending to ignore them. Alex wasn't sure if he could explain what had happened. He returned to his quarters, half expecting Lyra to appear again. But the room was empty, the consoles humming softly as if nothing had changed. He sat down, rubbing his temples. His mind kept replaying her words. "They've forgotten about us, but we never forget humanity." "Who are you really?" he whispered, as if saying it aloud might summon her again. As if in answer, a small holographic projection flickered to life on the console. Alex froze. He hadn't activated it. The hologram was faint, blue, and human-shaped, a recording from the past, somehow triggered by the station's systems. The figure spoke in a calm female voice. "Project Lyra. Subject: Enhanced Human AI Integration. Objective: Observation and intervention in isolated human colonies. Activation: When human ingenuity is required to prevent catastrophic failure." Alex's eyes widened. "Enhanced human," he muttered. His mind raced. Lyra wasn't just a human. She was something more: engineered, enhanced, possibly designed to test humanity's limits. The hologram continued. Lyra is capable of interfacing with all known human technology. She is designed to complement human intuition, not replace it. Under no circumstances should she be considered a threat. She exists to protect and guide humanity in situations beyond their comprehension. Alex's stomach tightened. The message was old, decades old. He realized the colony had been forgotten, not just by Earth, but by everyone. And yet somehow, Lyra had survived all these years, waiting for someone like him. Before he could process further, the station's alarms blared. The red warning lights flashed. Alex jumped to his feet, heart pounding. The energy distribution console showed unusual spikes near the outer rim of the station. Something, or someone, was tampering with the systems. He activated the emergency feed, but the cameras displayed only static. Then a single frame flickered, a strange metallic object orbiting the station, moving with deliberate precision. Its surface was smooth, dark, and angular, nothing like any human craft. Alex's breath caught. He ran to the communications console. "This is Alex of Station Helios. I need a full sensor scan now." No response. The station's AI seemed overwhelmed, unable to interpret the readings. Alex's mind raced. He needed help, and he knew only one person could handle this. "Lyra," he whispered, almost pleading. As if on cue, a faint glow appeared near the doorway. She stepped into the room, calm and composed. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed softly. "You found them," she said, her voice steady. "Good. Observation confirms it. A probe, alien in origin, has reactivated after centuries of dormancy. It monitors human colonies and evaluates threats." Alex's stomach dropped. "A probe? Here? Why now?" "Because humans are unpredictable," Lyra replied. "And that unpredictability threatens their calculations. They are assessing whether humanity deserves to survive in space." Alex stared at her. "You mean it could destroy the station?" "Yes," she said simply. "If it decides the colony is a risk, it will neutralize the threat, and you, Alex, are at the center of that risk." He swallowed hard. "At the center?" Lyra stepped closer. "Your creativity, your ability to adapt, the probe detects it. That is why it is moving against the station. And that is why I am here, to guide you, to ensure humanity's potential is not lost." Alex felt a mix of fear and determination. He knew the colony couldn't survive without action, and he also knew that no AI, no protocol, could replace the intuition and adaptability of a human mind. "We need to understand it," he said. "We need to predict its moves." Lyra nodded. "We can't, not fully. That is why humans exist, to do what machines cannot. We can react, improvise, adapt. That is our advantage." For hours they worked together. Alex used his knowledge of the station's systems, while Lyra anticipated points of failure that he hadn't even considered. She interfaced with the probe's signals, analyzing its trajectory, its energy patterns, and its scanning methods. The probe was smarter than anything Alex had ever encountered. It seemed to anticipate his every move, rerouting energy, activating defensive systems, and even triggering minor environmental controls to hinder their progress. But every time it acted, Alex countered with Lyra's guidance. At one point, the probe forced the station's gravity generators to fluctuate, throwing Alex off balance. He crashed against the console, cursing. "It's learning too fast," he shouted. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, that is what makes it dangerous, but it cannot predict human unpredictability. It cannot anticipate creativity. That is your gift." Alex clenched his fists. "Then we'll make it fail together," they improvised. Alex rerouted auxiliary energy systems to create false signals, confusing the probe's sensors. Lyra synchronized with the station's core, using her enhanced interface to guide the energy flow precisely. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, warning lights flashed, and alarms screamed. But slowly, methodically, they gained the upper hand. Hours passed, blending into the station's artificial night. Finally, the probe's movement slowed, its attacks growing less coordinated. Alex leaned against the console, exhausted but exhilarated. We did it," he panted. Lyra nodded. "Temporarily, the probe is cautious now. It is reassessing, but it will act again. And next time the colony alone might not survive." Alex's mind raced. He realized the truth. The probe wasn't just testing the colony, it was testing him, humanity. Their ability to survive when left alone, isolated, and underestimated. "You didn't come here by accident," he said quietly. "You chose me." "I didn't choose," Lyra replied softly. "I was assigned, but yes, you were important, your mind, your instincts, your stubbornness. You are human, and that matters." Alex felt a strange mix of pride and fear. He was one person, just a single human among many. And yet here he was, the linchpin of the colony's survival. By the next artificial morning, Alex knew he couldn't ignore what was happening. The probe would return. It would test, it would observe, and it would challenge every assumption humanity had about isolation and vulnerability in space. He stood at the observation window, watching the probe drift silently in orbit, its dark surface reflecting the pale light of the dying star. Lyra stood beside him, silent. "Tomorrow," she said finally, "we prepare, we adapt, we survive. Humans have done this before, Alex. Alone, outnumbered, underestimated, and they have always found a way." Alex nodded slowly, determination burning in his chest. "Then we'll find a way, no matter what." For the first time in months, he felt the thrill of true purpose. The station was no longer just a lonely outpost. It was a testing ground, and he, human, flawed, stubborn, brilliant, was at the center. Lyra's eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "Remember this," she said. "The universe underestimates humanity. That is our greatest weapon. They calculate, they predict, they anticipate. But humans improvise. Humans endure. Humans triumph." Alex smiled faintly, a mixture of fear and pride. "Then let's make sure they remember that," he said. The probe remained in orbit, silent, patient, watching. But Alex no longer felt fear. He felt challenge. And with Lyra at his side, he felt something even more powerful. The certainty that humanity, in all its resilience, would not be ignored. Not by probes, not by isolation, not by the cold, dark reaches of space. And for the first time, he understood exactly what Lyra meant. Humans, when underestimated, could accomplish things no machine or alien could ever predict. The station's lights flickered as the probe in orbit began to move again, slowly at first, then with a deliberate precision. That made Alex's stomach tighten. It had assessed, recalculated, and now it was testing the colony once more. But this time, Alex was ready. He and Lyra had spent hours studying its behavior, improvising strategies, and preparing for the inevitable confrontation. "Alex," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm, "this will be dangerous. The probe is intelligent. It learns from every move. It anticipates patterns, but there is one thing it cannot predict." Alex looked at her. "And what's that?" "Human creativity," she replied. Her eyes glowed softly. "And your ability to improvise under pressure." He nodded, determination hardening in his chest. "Then let's show it what humanity can do." The first attack came without warning. The probe directed an energy pulse at the station's outer hull, sending a shudder through the structure. Sparks flew from conduits and alarms screamed across every deck. Alex grabbed the emergency console and began rerouting auxiliary power. Lyra stood beside him, her hands moving across interfaces faster than any human could, interfacing with the station's core and the probe's signals simultaneously. The station groaned under the stress. Gravity fluctuated in some sections, forcing Alex to cling to a railing to avoid being thrown across the deck. Lyra's calm voice guided him. "Use the old bypass system. Divert the energy here, then channel it to the core. Not through the usual routes. Improvise." Alex thought quickly. The probe had anticipated standard reroutes. He remembered an abandoned section of the station, a maintenance corridor long sealed off. Using auxiliary controls, he activated the old conduits. Sparks flew as the energy surged, but the core stabilized. The probe hesitated, its sensors confused by the unexpected improvisation. "Good," Lyra said, her eyes glowing brighter. "Now we turn its own logic against it." Alex followed her instructions. They created a series of false energy signals, patterns that mimicked a failing station core. The probe reacted immediately, sending pulses to counteract the perceived instability. But every pulse it sent fed the diversion system Alex had improvised. Slowly, deliberately, they guided the probe's energy attacks into a feedback loop. The station shook violently. Fire alarms blared. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, but the system held. Alex and Lyra worked in perfect coordination, human intuition complementing enhanced AI-like precision. Hours passed in tense silence punctuated by alarms and the occasional thrum of the probe's movements outside. Alex's arms ached. His hands were raw from the consoles, but he refused to stop. He realized something profound. No machine, no alien probe could match the adaptability of a human mind willing to think beyond the expected. Then the probe struck directly. Its energy beam targeted the station's central core, the heart of the colony. Lights went out in several sections. The temperature rose dangerously. Alex's stomach lurched. If the core failed now, the station would collapse entirely. "Lyra," he shouted. "We can't hold it much longer." She placed a hand on the main console, eyes locked on the probe's energy patterns. "Yes, we can. Trust me, and trust yourself. Improvisation is your weapon. Humanity's advantage. Predict the unpredictable." Alex gritted his teeth. He remembered old engineering tricks, lessons from decades ago. He rerouted cooling conduits, tapped into emergency energy reserves, and created a controlled energy loop that the probe could not anticipate. Sparks and smoke filled the room as circuits overloaded, but the core began to stabilize. The probe hesitated. Its sensors analyzed, recalculated, but every move Alex made seemed outside its parameters. The alien machine could anticipate patterns, but it could not predict human intuition, and that unpredictability was their strength. "Now," Lyra said, her voice sharp with urgency, "we push it back." Alex nodded. Using the probe's own signal frequencies, he and Lyra reversed the energy flow. The pulses intended to damage the station were redirected into space, harmlessly deflected by the station's shields. The probe reacted, sending one last massive pulse, but Alex's improvised system absorbed and redirected it. Sparks flew violently, warning lights flashed madly, but the station endured. Finally, silence. The probe drifted in orbit, motionless, analyzing, recalculating, but it did not attack again. Alex sank into his chair, chest heaving. He could hardly believe what had just happened. The station was still standing. The colony was safe. And they had done it, through human ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination. Lyra's eyes glowed softly in the dim light. "It will return," she said quietly. "The probe will never stop assessing humanity. But now it has learned something important. Humans are unpredictable. Humans endure. Humans triumph." Alex nodded slowly. He felt pride, exhaustion, and awe all at once. We actually did it," he whispered. "Yes," Lyra said. "You did it, but not alone, together. Humanity's strength is not in isolation. It is in the willingness to act, to adapt, to survive. And you, Alex, proved that tonight." For the first time since the colony had been abandoned, Alex felt hope, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. They were not helpless in the cold, indifferent universe. They were resilient, creative, and astonishingly brilliant, even when underestimated, even when alone. As the station system stabilized, Alex moved to the observation window. He stared at the probe, dark and silent in orbit, reflecting the pale light of the dying star. It was a reminder that humanity would always be challenged, always observed, always tested. But now he knew humans would endure, humans would adapt, and humans would prevail. Lyra stood beside him, silent for a moment, then spoke softly. "You've done more than save this station, Alex. You've reminded the universe what it means to be human, not just to survive, but to triumph against impossible odds." Alex turned to her, curiosity and gratitude mixing in his eyes. "Will you stay?" he asked. "With the colony with us?" She smiled faintly, a mixture of warmth and mystery. "I will guide when needed, but humans must act on their own. You now understand what that means. You have seen your own potential, and that is enough." He felt a surge of determination. "Then we'll be ready. Next time we won't just survive, we'll show them what humanity can really do." Lyra nodded. "Good. Never forget this. They calculate, they predict. But humans think beyond calculation. Humans create, humans endure, and that is why humanity will never be ignored." For the first time in months, Alex slept peacefully. The station hummed quietly around him. The probe lingered in orbit, silent, patient, perhaps waiting, but Alex no longer feared it. He had discovered something far greater than any technology or alien force: the brilliance of human intuition, the spark of creativity, and the unstoppable will to survive. Humanity had faced the impossible and prevailed. And as the dying star flickered outside the observation window, Alex knew that no matter what challenges awaited, humans would endure, adapt, and triumph, because that was who they were. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of Station Helios, Lyra watched, a faint glow pulsing in rhythm with the station's heartbeat. She had done her job. Humanity had proven itself. And now the future, uncertain, unpredictable, and thrilling, was theirs to shape. Alex looked at the stars beyond the station, feeling a sense of awe and pride. Humanity, underestimated and abandoned, had survived. And one day, the universe would remember that humans were never to be counted out. Because when humans are at their best, creative, clever, and unyielding, they are unstoppable. And that was the final truth of Station Helios.